So now let's begin with Java data object assignment. For this assignment we need two things, Eclipse and JavaDB zip file. So this JavaDB zip file contains all the jars that we need for the execution of our assignment. So let's begin with the code. So I've created this project ObjectDB, and these are the jar files that we need for execution. So the location for this jar file is, so this is the ObjectDB file. Its link is in the description, and after unzipping it, it's the folder, and inside bin these are the 4 jar files that we have to include in our project. So these are included here in the build path of our project. So let's begin with the classes. So the first class is an entity class. Like it's a normal class, normal Java class, but this annotation makes it an entity class. So what's an entity class? This will be the class which will be stored in the database. So like it contains the name, roll number, and aggregate of the student. So all these fields will be stored in the database. So inside this class, let's discuss the structure of the class. We will be having the fields, then constructor with fields, then getter functions for these fields, and a toString function to print these fields. So all these things we need in this class, and this annotation at the beginning of the class, like just before the beginning, we need this annotation entity. This entity is inside this package javax.persistence.entity, like as the problem statement says, make a persistent class. So this is our persistent class. Now this test class. This test class contains the main method where we will be inserting the persistent object into the database. We will be generating queries and getting the result out of them. And so let's begin. So this is the object of the student. It's reference, not object. It's the object of the student class. Then it's the reference of the student class, not object. And then EMF is the reference of entity manager factory. Entity manager factory is an interface which is used to interact with the entity manager factory for the persistent unit. So our persistent unit and the persistent class is string. So to interact with this, we need this entity manager factory, and also to this entity manager factory reference we will assign our database. So st.odb is our database, the physical location of the database. It's the ObjectDB. Inside that is the DB folder, and ststudent.odb is the database. And then we will create an entity manager factory of type entity manager. So see, these two things are different. Entity manager factory gets connected to the database, and to this entity manager factory, we create an entity manager, and whose reference is passed to the reference of entity manager. So this is the entity manager. So this entity manager is used to interact with the persistent context. So it's documentation. So I will tell you what, if you want to read, just pause the video and you can read it. Okay, I will tell you briefly what this does. So now at this class, it's an entity class, and we have created an object of this class. Let's say for timing it's an object or the instance. So now this S is an entity instance. So this entity manager, it makes this entity instance a persistent object. and stores it into the database. Fine. S is the reference. We are creating the object of the student, storing it into the reference. Now this S is the object. In this object we are passing to the persistence. Persistence is a method of entity manager. That means this entity manager will now store this object, student object, persistently. That means we have created this student object, a persistent object. In the similar way, we are creating more objects as persistent object. So before making these object persistent, we have to begin like this. Like we have to get transaction and then we begin transaction. Yeah, this the link for these code, actually the whole project will be in the description box. You can just simply import this project into your workspace and you can run. Now generating query. So for that we will again use this interface, query interface, used to control the query execution, and these are the queries. For more queries you can obviously do the Google. So these queries are quite similar to SQL queries with small difference. Like here every time we have to create an object of the class because it's an ObjectDB, and we have to pass this object for if we want to use any function like count or max or average, we have to pass the field or the object name. And select count from student as nothing new, select name from student, select max aggregate from student. These all are same as SQL. So here is a bit difference. So like this is select S from student S. So if we want to write the same query in SQL, we will write select star from student. But here we don't use star, we use the object of the student and its object, and we use this object to get the result. So we'll select the student object from student, and this is the reason why we have written this toString method. toString method actually prints the whole object, so that's why to print this, like we have written, when we will execute this query it will print the whole object, because here we will get the detail of all the objects, like all the objects inside this student class. Fine. It's ordered by query with ascending order of aggregate, and it's the delete query where equals to p. P is the parameter. So like when we will execute this query is executed here, we will set the parameter p, and the value we can set here is this, like we can set any value here. Now to get the result out of this query, when we will fire the query, we will use 2 or 3 methods. Like basic 2 methods will be get single result and get result list. These 2 methods will be used when we want to get some result out of this query. And for deletion and updation we will use execute update. So like query q10 is the query which contains this query dot set parameter. We have set it the parameter for this, and then execute update. So we'll do this thing only for delete and update. For rest other queries we will use either single result or result list. This single result, it gives only one result, like a single value, a name or a digit, or just marks, like here just the marks, name, or the roll number. It will give only a single value. And this get result list gives like all the values which the query can fetch. Like for example, total students, like total student will be only a single number, like any figure, so we are using single result. And the student names, so it will give the name of all the students, so we are using a result list, like it will give us a list. then single list result, anything new. Okay, now there are two ways to get result from this, like to print the result from get result list. The very first way is like we can write it into the system out statement. Like we have written get full detail, students full detail, and we have query 6 is select s, like by select s from student s. So we'll get the result and we will print it in the system out.println. The other way is using an iterator. So list is a collection of generic type student result. So this result will get the list of all the results, like all the student records. And then using student p is the object. So one by one this result, like this result will contain the list, like it's a list, for example it's a list, so it will contain a result and it will one by one print the result. I will show you the difference in the output. So let's run this code. Right click, run as Java application. Yeah. So total number of students, name of student, maximum mark, aggregate with 66. It's printing name again because I think the same record has been inserted more than one time. Then number of records deleted, average marks. Yeah, see, here's the difference. Like if we write this result get result list into inside a system out.println, we will get output in a single line. Like this is a single line and we are getting the whole result in the line. This is when we write this statement in system out.println. And if we use this iterator logic, we will get output in this fashion. So one record at a time, like this. So these are the few queries, I think 10 queries. So if you want to try more queries, you can Google it. They are easily available, and you can even create your own queries. They are quite similar to that of SQL queries. So at the end, we don't have to forget to commit that. After all these things, we have to commit the transaction to make it done. So that's all for Entity Manager. This program and the ObjectDB zip files links are in the description. You can download. Any more thing? Yeah. So you can put this statement anywhere, like even here, like just after the inserting records, you can commit the transaction because you don't need any more. But if you do like this, you won't be able to delete or update, because for deletion and updation the transaction should be active. That's why we put this at the end. Fine. I have also given the link of the documentation, the official documentation of ObjectDB. You can refer that also in case of doubt. So that's it for ObjectDB.